It's a fact. Everybody's got to come from somewhere, right? And when most of us think back to where we all came from, get a bit nostalgic about our neighborhood, the people we knew, the local places that we went to and remember, and the feeling of a place where we belong. Well, today, we're visiting a neighborhood that was built by people who had no place to call their own. We're in Orange Mound, Tennessee. It's a neighborhood in the greater Memphis area that was built after emancipation by former slaves and free African Americans in the 19th and 20th centuries. It's a story of history, perseverance, and belonging. I'm here with Ms. Mary E. Mitchell, a lifelong resident here in Orange Mound. There's quite a bit of history in this community. Can you talk to us a little bit about what that history is and what it's like here now?
The history of Orange Mound is very great. It's the first community in America founded and developed exclusively for African Americans to buy land and own their own home. 25 years post-slavery, circa 1890. The family that owned this plantation, they were the Jedricks, and after the Civil War, their wealth kind of diminished. So it was written in the will that none of this land should ever be sold to Negroes. But Mr. Elsie Eugene Meacham, who was white, bought the land and sold lots for shotgun houses for African Americans. My family bought our house where I live now. We have been living there for 75 years. But the joy was the fact that we owned our own home. We were not on a plantation.
This is how neighborhoods used to be, where you better not do anything wrong because Ms. Mitchell she's watching you.
You better know it.
And this is still how this community is today.
When I was a little girl, could go to anybody's house, get a good meal. I know where all the good cooking was. It's still like that. It's not cohesive as it was.
Sure.
But it's still very much that core seed is still here.
And there is a movement now to try and keep that community together, an organization called My Cup of Tea. Can you talk to me a little bit about what this place is and what it is they're trying to do for the community?
Well, my special friend, Miss Carrie Moore, was relentless in her pursuits to create an avenue to uplift the women of Orange Mound. After knowing about the rich history of Orange Mound and how it had declined economically, this idea for My Cup of Tea, it has just exploded as far as jobs and opportunities and careers for women from Orange Mound.
It's a training program, right?
That's right.
To give women some confidence and some abilities to be able to then take the next step.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
You are an amazing woman. This is great. This is great information, and I think it's just so important for people to learn about this sense of community that's out there. You introduced us to someone else who's also part of this community. We're gonna go talk to them.
During the 1960s and 70s, the community experienced a shift in its population. Integration opened doors that had once been closed. African Americans now had access to more housing, employment, and educational opportunities. A community that could boast that generations had stayed in the family home or neighborhood was slowly watching younger generations move away.
I'm here with Mr. Jesse Wilburn. Mr. Wilburn, we learned a little bit about the history of this town and how far back it goes. And every community goes through changes, but it's something that Orange Mound has sort of weathered and is building back up again from, hasn't it?
Here in the South, you probably have read, seen, heard history on how we have overcome. And here we are today, 2017, still trying to overcome. And we're doing a pretty good job. Right. I mean, there are times when we feel that we've been shortchanged, but we're not letting that stop us.
There's almost like a motivation, right, to stay together, to keep pushing, to keep making things better.
You're right. As you probably have already talked with some people that I was in school with in the first grade.
Right.
And we're still motivated enough to try to make Orange Mound the best community in the world.
You know, maybe you live in a community just like this. The real difference is the people who live here and the people that may live in your community as well. It's that dedication and that ability and willingness to work really hard to preserve the history so that the future is even brighter.